Gonna have to change that a little bit. It's not the Toronto Raptor podcast anymore, just the Toronto Raptor segments here on Couch Potato Diary. But looking at player totals today, we have gone through potential breakouts, potential X factors. Normally we do potential fall offs, but no one played well enough last year that they're going to fall off this year. So we've gone through a few different things. Now it is time to look at a couple of stat projections, I guess, that the Toronto Raptors may hit this season. And so these are provided in kind of season-long point total things like we did with the wins yesterday. And so once again, for the fine overlords at Twitch, none of this is actual gambling advice. This is just a, hey, I think that A, these point thresholds that they give us are an interesting talking point, and B, this is just what I would consider, not necessarily what I think you should do. So, with that all in mind, let's take a look at a few of them here. First is RJ Barrett and Immanuel Quickley, 20 plus points per game each at plus 200. I feel like I can't really say I think Immanuel Quickley is actually going to be a breakout player in the whole NBA this year, not just with the Toronto Raptors, and then think he's going to get under 20 points per game. With the Raptors last year, he was around 18 and a half. I think it was 18.7. So he was right in kind of that area. And so I think that there is a real opportunity, given, again, him being more of a focal point in this offense and him seemingly having what should be stylistically a pretty good rapport with Scottie Barnes. I think that should be something that helps get him to that 20-point threshold. With RJ Barrett, there is a bit of an injury concern right now, but I do also think that he averaged, I think it was 23 points a game, or 22, 23 points a game last season. I should actually kind of look this up because he's coming up again here in a second. But I think that he played really well with the Raptors. He was at 21.8 points a game with the Raps last season. He was at 18.2 with the Knicks. But again, there's going to be more opportunities for him to score the basketball. And coming off of an Olympics where he looked phenomenal, I do think that there might be a little bit of a boost for RJ Barrett. And so I think the only thing that can hold you back in this is an RJ Barrett injury, and I didn't look, to be perfectly honest, to see if there was he has to play X amount of games. And so if he plays 5 and averages 30, then blows his leg up, look at that, we hit. Hopefully that doesn't happen, but you know what I mean. So I think that is one, and it's sitting at plus 200 right now, where I found this. So that I think is a pretty good one to look at. I would be taking that if you were into that sort of a thing. Another one is RJ Barrett specific. He is, again, averaged 21 and a bit points per game with the Raptors. This one is saying RJ Barrett to get 23 plus points per game and 6 plus rebounds per game. He had 6.7 rebounds a game last year with the Raptors, and again, averaged 21 point whatever it was points per game with the Raps, just over 21 points per game. And so again, I think now there is an opportunity for him to step up into that role. Also, the one thing that concerns you about the rebounding thing is that while the Knicks had Mitchell Robinson and stuff like that, they didn't necessarily, and I guess Hartenstein as well, so they did have a couple of rebounders there. But with Pirtle and Barnes, those guys tend to gobble up quite a few of those boards. And so I do worry that maybe they won't all be there for RJ Barrett this season, depending on how the Raptors maybe utilize him on the offensive side of things or whatever. But I still think that to assume he sticks around at the same rebounding total he did a year ago, and maybe a slight tick up in the points, given where he is at in this Raptors offense, and a level of comfort now, having a full, I guess not a full training camp because he was injured, but at least having that full off season. And again, the boost coming from the Olympics, I just think all of that together leads to what should be a positive year for RJ Barrett. And so I also like to take this one again, over on 23 points per game and over on 6 rebounds per game, getting you at plus 250. And the last one is Scottie Barnes, 5 plus triple doubles this season. If he gets 5, we get this one. It's at plus 150. And for Scottie Barnes, he had 5 last year. And now again, we are assuming a touch of development in his game. I don't know how well the team is going to do, but that could lead to extra rebound opportunities, at least. But I am interested to see what kind of distribution they use in terms of who the offense is running through. And so if it is definitely a little bit more quickly heavy with the basketball, then all of a sudden there might be a bit of an issue with us getting to that number in the assist category. But I think he is so clearly the number one scoring option on this team and has shown to be a very good rebounder. I think there are going to be enough nights that the assists are there that this is a pretty wise play at plus 150. 50. For more NBA on the YouTube channel right now, just search Couch Potato Diary. There is the mega preview that's going to come out in podcast form as soon as this episode here on Twitch is done. So check out the mega preview, which is a combination of all of the preview segments we did, all thrown into one and put out there on the YouTubes, and it'll be available in podcast form as well. And we'll do the same thing with the Raptors stuff early tomorrow. Certainly not going to be the, I think this one ended up clocking in at a couple of hours for the mega NBA preview. It's certainly not going to be that. It might not even make it to half an hour, but it'll be a nice little combination of everything that is going on. And the interesting part about the NBA mega preview, if I may, is you can kind of tell, like the Randall trade happens in the middle of it, or the Cat trade happens in the middle of it. And so you can kind of hear where some of the predictive, like, okay, well, maybe this could happen and this would shift this, and then the reaction to it as well, and how we kind of had to pivot on that. So I think there's some interesting stuff in there. Toxic asking, you think Scottie Barnes is a bona fide number one option in this league? I think he's a bona fide number one option on the Raptors. I think in a perfect world for a Scottie Barnes, he would probably be, from an offensive standpoint, a number 2 or maybe even number 3. I mean, obviously, a perfect world, he's like a number 10 option and you're on a super team. But for realistic purposes, I think if he was a 2 as an offensive option, I think you'd be okay. And I think a 3, it would kind of be perfect, but I think where he really shines is his ability to play all over the floor, right? Like, he can defend multiple positions, and I think the defensive aspect of it is what really does kind of help you with him and make you feel like that this is someone who was deserving of being an all-star and can be a number one guy on a team because of what he can do at the defensive end of the floor, and then the offensive side has improved to the point where he at least can be a number one, and it's not laughable, although maybe a few less ISOs for him at the end of basketball games might be beneficial to this team's long-term success. But so from a scoring standpoint, I don't think he's a bona fide number one. But from a overall team constructing standpoint, I think you can build around this guy and have a pretty successful team. I do.